Humanity spent 300,000 years mastering agriculture to feed billions of people. Yet across every human civilization, we domesticate herbivores while completely excluding apex predators from our dinner plates. A single adult lion contains over 200 pounds of dense muscle protein. Yet humanity never built a lion farm. If we can conquer nature, why do we refuse to eat predators? The answer is not taste. It is an ancient biological barrier encoded inside our DNA, revealing an uncomfortable truth about how nature protects its ultimate consumer. When scientists analyze the perfect human diet through an ecological lens, the first barrier is pure energetic mathematics. In 1942, a landmark study by ecologist Raymond Lindeman established the fundamental law of trophic efficiency. Energy transfer between levels in a food chain is terrifyingly inefficient, losing roughly 90% of its calorie value at each stage. To produce 1 pound of edible beef, a domestic cow consumes 10 pounds of plant biomass, but to produce 1 pound of lion meat, that lion must consume 10 pounds of herbivore meat, which required 1,000 pounds of plant vegetation. Farming carnivores demands an exponential energy tax, rapidly bankrupting and starving any human society within a single farming season. To a predator, standing at the top of the food chain is not a luxury, but an economic impossibility for human agriculture. Energetic bankruptcy is only the beginning of the biological trap. The second boundary has it ever began, it is grendiforce chances. Punkriff's hagrift boundaryless trappery is a private imitation. Does again half track the kunafalsons and only difficulty to shrumlik metals or boundaries. As you can tax for T-mil water, 50 women to poisoned, mains cross-moving as full fluve or heil all for availables named ribly overmarins and commutes and now complution have stone in vire for soa or but. When an herbivore morse eats thousands of those plants, those fat toxins concentrates inside its body tissues over its lifespan. When an apex predator eats hundreds of those herbivores, it acts like a giant biological sponge, absorbing every microgram of toxic burden. Known it accumulated comes with the intudent octal absorbs an entire Horace view ecosystem. Top carnivores like polar bears, sharks, and eagles carry internal concentrations of mercury, lead, and industrial toxins thousands of times higher than the surrounding environment. To a predator, living at the peak of the pyramid means becoming a concentrated reservoir of environmental poison. Even if we were to harvest a wild predator in pristine wilderness, its internal organs carry lethal biological mines. In 1943, researchers Kare Rodal and Thomas Moore published a groundbreaking study examining polar bear livers. Arctic explorers who consumed bear liver suffered from severe drowsiness, violent nausea, skin peeling from head to toe, and eventual liver failure. Carnivores store immense quantities of preformed vitamin A in their hepatic tissues, allowing them to process their meat-heavy diet. Consuming a small portion of polar bear liver delivers a hypervitaminosis dose so concentrated that it can rapidly overwhelm the human metabolic system. To a predator, its own internal organs are engineered to survive a toxicity level that would instantly destroy human biology. Beyond chemical toxicity, carnivores are biological vectors for devastating parasitic infections, triggering potential pandemic spillover events. Because predators consume raw flesh from dozens of different prey animals throughout their lives, their muscle tissues become primary breeding grounds for deadly pathogens. Carnivores carry high loads of microscopic parasites like Trichinella spiralis and Toxoplasma gondii, which insist deep inside muscle fibers. Furthermore, endocrinology reveals the hidden biochemistry of fear. Predators live a life of constant violent conflict. When a carnivore hunts or dies in distress, its muscle tissue is flooded with massive spikes of cortisol, adrenaline, and oxidative free radicals. Consuming this meat transfers these elevated stress biomarkers directly into human digestion, triggering systemic cellular inflammation inside human cells. To a predator, carrying a nightmare load of pathogens and stress markers is simply the price of hunting live prey. Which of these biological barriers surprises you most? If you could ask nature one question about why a wild creature behaves the way it does, which animal should Zoologic decode next? Let us know in the comments below. Coast and consider subscribing to join our journey through animal psychology and evolutionology and evolutionary biochemistry. This brings us to the psychology of human emotion and visual threat perception. Humans easily bond with herbivores because their side-facing eyes and gentle expressions trigger feelings of safety in our subconscious mind. But when we look into the front-facing, binocular eyes of a predator, our brain amygdala instantly fires a fight or flight warning signal. Evolutionary psychology reveals that the emotion of disgust is not a random feeling. It is an ancient psychological guardian, a neural program designed to keep us away from the hazardous ammonia odors and toxic urea levels of carnivore flesh. Our brain pairs visual predator threat with visceral gustatory disgust, creating an impenetrable psychological wall. Being feared came to stay safe from human specialists. Furthermore, neuroscience dismantles the brain evolution paradox. Many people assume that human intelligence exploded because our ancestors ate dangerous predators. In reality, current evidence suggests that the human brain expanded because we targeted gentle herbivores, rich in healthy animal fats and fatty acids. Eating herbivores provided stable, non-toxic energy, allowing our cerebral cortex to grow without poisoning our metabolic organs. We evolved high intelligence not by consuming apex hunters, but by outsmarting them to protect our herbivore herds. To a predator, its flesh remained a biological dead end that contributed nothing to the rise of human consciousness. This is the part that changes the question. We spend centuries debating the perfect human diet, arguing over plant ratios, protein sources, and ancestral eating habits. We construct elaborate culinary traditions, building massive global food supply chains to sustain human civilization. Meanwhile, we fail to realize that our species survived not by what we chose to eat, but by what we instinctively refused to touch. We did not ban predator meat because we were afraid of being hunted. We banned it because our evolutionary biology recognized a fundamental ecological truth. Eating the hunter turns the human body into a toxic graveyard. We spent thousands of years domesticating gentle herbivores because our survival depended on respecting the boundaries of the food chain. To a predator, its position at the apex is protected not merely by sharp claws and fangs, but by an invisible armor of accumulated biological lethal defense. If human civilization ever faces total ecological collapse, the temptation to hunt apex predators will return. But nature has already written the rules in our blood and in our psychology. When we look at a lion or an eagle, we are not looking at a potential meal. We are looking at a living vault of accumulated toxins, parasites, and evolutionary warnings. Are we truly the masters of the natural world, or are we simply smart enough to know which lines we must never cross?